The Red River Rivalry is this weekend for the first time as Oklahoma and Texas are members of the SEC. This is a big game for both teams, and both teams are well rested coming off bye weeks. We will be joined by none other than certified platinum comedian Bill Engvall, aka Here's Your Sign, to join us to talk about all things Longhorns. That's all ahead on this edition of the Stingray Show. Guys, we've got a lot to cover with Bill Engvall, so let's get the Stingray Show rocking and rolling.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee.
You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And ladies and gentlemen, with all of that, we want to welcome you inside the Stingray Show. Heath Hopkins is back. Heath, briefly, how are you doing and where have you been?
I feel miserable, but I'm on this side of the grave, so I'm happy. No, fall break with the kids. We went up to the Ark Encounter up in Kentucky, just north of Lexington, between Lexington and Cincinnati. I was highly impressed with that place. It was a fun place, but Stephen, man, I don't know what it is. I've been fighting this gunk for 3 weeks now. Heaven forbid if it's the C word that I refuse to say on the show, COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, I refuse to talk about that or politics. So let's talk a little Red River Rivalry, brother.
Yes, that is right. And in order to break this game down from the Texas side and to continue to talk about his comedy career, he is joining us for the third time now. That officially makes him a friend of the show. Heath, ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome back to the Stingray Show, certified platinum comedian and huge Texas Longhorn fan, Mr. Bill Engvall. Bill, how is retirement treating you, my friend?
Well, to be honest with you, not as good as I thought it would. I've actually kind of made the decision that this next year I'm going to maybe do a very limited tour. I miss performing. I miss the fans. And probably instead of a retirement, I should have just called it, I need a break. But I'm looking forward to getting back out there and seeing the fans, and obviously following Texas Longhorns as they're surprising me. I was as we talked off camera, I was a little worried about when Texas joined the SEC because it's just such a tough conference.
Right.
But they've stepped up, and between Ewers and Manning and Sarkisian, they really have pulled this team together, and they're fun to watch.
So, Bill, I do have a favor to ask of you, and I think everybody listening would also like this as well. When you go on tour, would you please try to choose a place close to Alabama so that we can all come and see your comedy act? Please.
I would love that too. I always have a great time down in the Southeast, and it's a great. Listen, you probably noticed this, that the only people that come out of retirement are musicians and comedians. let's face it, you never hear a 70-year-old garbage man going, I retired, but after about a year, I just miss getting up at 4:30 in the morning and hauling your stinky garbage away.
Right.
Well, Bill, I want to throw in there. I'd love to see you, but don't book in Memphis. Please don't, because your car's going to get stolen and you'll probably be shot at. So
Well,
don't book in Memphis, please. I want to see you around for many years.
I'll make sure my agent knows that.
There you go. Bill, I want to ask you, when you were on the show previously, you showed up in a Texas Santa hat, your Texas jersey, you talked to the Cowboys, and I was so impressed at how much you knew about the Cowboys and the Longhorns. Not only are you a fan, you know your stuff. With that,
well, it's all smoke and mirrors.
So is this show. It's held together with duct tape and dental floss, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, I what's funny, and my wife can vouch for this. Like if I'm watching the Cowboys, I'll turn the TV off and on no less than 30 times. If Dak throws an interception or Oklahoma scores 2 touchdowns in a row, I'd shut the TV off because I figure I'm the jinx.
Right.
But so far, it's only been the Cowboys that have let me down.
Well, I was going to lead to that. I read yesterday that Ben Roethlisberger, the former quarterback for the Steelers, talked about how great of a quarterback Dak is. He says you can win a Super Bowl with him. That performance that he did in Pittsburgh there in the fourth quarter, he goes, that's how you lead to a championship season is games like that. Joe Montana even said Dak is the most criticized guy in the league for no reason. I know Dak is not a perfect quarterback. There's no such thing.
No.
But with that being said, is Jerry Jones the problem, or is it Dak holding this team back?
Well, I think first off, they're dealing with a huge number of injuries, which is just you can't control that. You hope for the best, and you hope that whoever the guy that steps up next can pull his weight. But I just think there's as much as I love the Cowboys, I just think there's a cultural problem in the sense of listen. I've been to the stadium; it sells out every Sunday. It's kind of and if you've never been to AT&T, it's I don't think the Cowboys have a home field advantage just because any game, and I think probably you're seeing this all over the pro levels is you go to when they played Pittsburgh, there was a huge number of Cowboy fans there, and like if the Cowboys are playing the Giants or the Packers or whoever at home, it's a 50-50 crowd split. I mean, there's no, I think if I was put on the spot, and on the pro level, there's only a handful of teams that I would say have a home field then. Cleveland, any of these teams that are that it's I don't want to say hard to get to, but it's not as easy to travel. But I think the NFL has become so global now. I mean, you show games over in London, there's people wearing Viking jerseys, Cowboy jerseys, Steeler jerseys. It's and it's great for the game, expanding the game. But sometimes you wish you had that home field advantage, and I just don't know that we got that. I think one of the issues, the Cowboys were the last 3 seasons were a 12-win team. I think my fear for Dak is he's such a great guy. He's almost like Tony Romo in the sense that he was able to get us to the playoffs, and it just for whatever reason, not laying the blame on any one person, but in the old days, I'll show my age. When guys like Staubach were there, you knew you could be down 2 touchdowns and you're still in the game because he could all of a sudden. Nowadays, it's kind of like baseball. Pitchers don't throw full games. One of my biggest gripes about is we get a lead and then all of a sudden we go into this kind of prevent defense, and I'm like, just keep doing what you're doing. Why are you changing?
Right.
If it's working, and that's not just indigenous to the Cowboys. That you see that all over the league. And then turning it back to college ball, that's one of the things I love about Sarkisian was I think one of the most brilliant things he did was tell the team not to fall into, what happened to Notre Dame is you look past the team and next thing you know, you're in hot water. Mm-hmm. So I think Sark will keep the Longhorns good. I think they'll beat Oklahoma. I don't think it's going to be the route everybody seems to think it is because OU always comes to play on the Red River Rivalry. And good Lord, then you follow up next week with Kirby and Georgia. It's like, holy cow. I mean, it's a gauntlet for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
So, Bill, hold that thought because we're up against our first break. And when we come back, we are going to continue to dive into your comedy career. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show.
That won't be a deep dive, by the way.
We will be right back with Bill Engvall.
Attention deer hunters and gardeners, fall is here and it's time to gear up with everything you need from the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. We've got you covered with top quality feeds, deer plot products, deer attractants, shooting houses and moultrie feeders. Whether you're in it for the trophy or the thrill, we have everything you need to bring home the big one this season. And for all you lawn and garden enthusiasts, boost your outdoor space with the power of high yield and Fertiloom products. From lush lawns to thriving veggie gardens, our lawn and garden solutions give you maximum results. Stop by today at 4301 McFarland Boulevard in Northport or call 205-339-8181. Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op, your partner for every season.
Well, I got to ask, when you go to the Cowboy Stadium, are you getting a suite? Are you sitting close to the sideline? Are you just sitting anywhere? Where are you going?
That's the great thing about AT&T. There's not a bad seat because you got a TV screen that was 80 yards long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to be, I like to be with the people, the fans.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
All right, I'm gonna bring us back. Okay. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening is Bill Engvall, the certified platinum comedian. And Bill, earlier this year in January, you actually were a contestant on a game show hosted by Blake Shelton where you competed against former Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron. Talk about that experience and what it was like meeting A.J. McCarron, please.
We had a blast, and AJ was about as nice a guy. I mean, I don't know that I've ever met a pro athlete that was as nice as he was. We had a blast. Blake's a good buddy, and the show's just kind of goofy, but it was fun. And AJ and I both got into it. And even these little silly games we were part of, you could see AJ's competitive side coming out.
Bill, I got to ask, what comedians do you really enjoy listening to? Who do you really respect and just think are just the funniest guys on the planet?
Oh, I'm such a bad mark. I love stand up. I guess if I had to, there's a guy out there everybody's heard now is Nate Bargatze, who is just, I think, probably one of the top comedians in the country right now. His career's exploded. In fact, he opened for me on one of my specials years ago, and I remember thinking, I don't want to follow this kid. Other than Nate, though, I still like Kevin Hart makes me laugh. There's a lot of guys you've never heard of that. It's weird being the elder statesman, as they say now, of comedy. It's hard for me. This is going to sound weird, but it's hard for me to watch other stand-ups simply for the fact that I don't want in a year from now to go, oh, I got an idea for a bit, and it's something I heard somebody else do. So you got to kind of be careful on that. But I still love it. I got to be honest with you. I worry a little bit about where we're going as a humanity when the only way we can be sold a product is if it's a cartoon character, whether it's a lizard selling us insurance or a little box telling us when we should get our prostate, or it's just like, what happened to just, hey, you need to do this, and now we got a flim ball that sells you cough medicine. It's like we can't be sold anything unless it's some kind of cartoon character.
Right. So, Bill, going back to your comedy routine and touring all over the country to get ready to go out on stage, did you ever have any pre-show rituals that you would do before you hit the stage?
Not really.
Okay.
Just because, in fact, it's just the opposite. I can remember in the club days, we'd be backstage and I'd be laying down on the bench and the owner would just be losing his mind. He goes, "I got a packed house and you're up here taking a nap." I go, "I'll be there. Don't worry." I think it's one of those things, I never really had a pre-show. Maybe that's either stupidity or naivety, but I just I think that's part of just being me. I don't want to try to be somebody I'm not. But sometimes I'll listen to some music before I go on, and that ranges everything from Pink Floyd to Garth Brooks or George Strait.
Bill, is there a comedian? I'm gonna put you on the spot on this one. Is there a comedian that does get a commercial, or does get a show, or does get a spot on a reality series or whatever? You're like, how does this guy keep getting work? How does this guy keep getting these bits? Is there a guy like that for you?
No, I mean, that's a tough question because I think comedians when the perks come, you better grab them while you got the shot because it's going to go away, and it's I don't ever begrudge anybody their success. It's a tough job. You think about you got to make people laugh who don't know you, and it's a midnight show, and they've been drinking and you haven't. Which is, it's kind of like showing up to a New Year's Eve party late. You're never going to catch up to everybody else.
Right.
But yeah, no, as far as the perks go with commercials and TV shows, I mean, Kevin has just killed it with all his endorsements and I say, God bless you, man. That's the way to go.
So, Bill, let's go to your acting just for a second. We talked about The Neighbor the last time that we had you on, but I was surprised to see this one. In 2015, you were in Oh Hell No, Sharknado 3. Talk about that experience, please.
A masterpiece.
Well, yeah. Let me. We didn't have to go too deep on my acting skills for that one. And the best thing was I got killed off in the opening credits, so you didn't have to wait very long. But it was fun. You know what? It was fun to do, and I think that's the key. Is you got to enjoy these moments when you get. When they called, and I was like, without a doubt, yeah, I don't care. And it was say it or not, we all I think have a secret guilt about Sharknado. You may not watch it with your buddies, but when you're home alone, you'll turn it on.
There you go, Bill. What's something where they called you to do a project and you decided not to do it, and you wish that you did?
You know what? That's I can't think of one because I just enjoy. You take each project individually, and the fact that someone was looking for me to be in their project, I always took that as a great honor, and never poo-pooed. I really can't think of one project I've ever done that I said that I was called on and said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I think that's, the great thing about that is that I've been asked enough that I can't come up with one.
Right. So, Bill, to prepare for this interview, I watched a great show that you were on, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And you actually got up to $65,000 and walked away with $32,000. That's a lot of money. Walk us through what that process was like of doing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and how much pressure it was when the questions came up.
Well, that was, when I got called to do that show, I was all excited about it. And they said, "Oh yeah, you're playing for a charity. A charity of your choice?" And that added tenfold pressure, which was, that was why I walked away at the 64,000, just because 32,000 is a lot of money. And you have that pressure of like, I don't want to leave them with nothing. or a minimal amount. So I thought, well, but I will tell you, it's nerve wracking. Thank goodness for the lifelines. I think I used every one of them on one question.
But you handled yourself well, though, man.
The hardest one, I got to be honest with you, the hardest one was are you smarter than a fifth grader? Because these kids, oh my gosh, all of a sudden the reality hit. They go, no, I guess I'm not. Because I had no idea how big a Hector was.
Oh, Bill, I got 4 kids and I do homework. I hated homework as a kid. I loathe and despise and hate homework now with my 4 children. And brother, there's times I'm not smarter than a third grader. I mean,
now you and me both, brother. You and me both. Generally, I was smart enough early on to realize that my wife's the brains of this family, so I would just let her do it.
Right. We married the same woman. No, Bill, I'll put you on the spot. Jon Stewart, I just was reminded of this story, was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and he was playing for Alzheimer's research. And he got way up there, and Regis was putting the pressure on him. He was like, John, if you miss this, you'll fall all the way down to whatever it was. And Jon Stewart goes, yeah, well, they'll forget about it. And I was like, you can't tell that joke on Alzheimer's research.
No, that I guarantee you that was just a slip.
But I always kind of laughed at that. Do you prepare to write in some jokes when you do shows like, Millionaire and Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Do you kind of write in some jokes like, hey, if he writes this or if he says this, I'm going to come back with this, or I'm going to ask him, hey, can you throw this at me so I can, throw this line out there? Do you prepare a joke for shows like that?
You don't know because you're so nervous and so scared. And that the other thing is in the heat of the moment, and I would be remiss if I said this never happened to me, but in the heat of the moment, sometimes you say something that somebody might take the wrong way.
Right.
So you're just so on point of trying to and you're just so focused on, God, please don't suck.
Right. What was the biggest pressure? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, or Dancing with the Stars?
Oh, Dancing with the Stars.
Wow.
That's people don't understand how brutal that show is. I mean, and you figure you've got 4 days to learn a dance, and then you got to do it in front of 12 million people. That's pressure.
Sorry, they're cutting grass outside here, so I apologize for that. So, Bill, you had the opportunity to be a recurring guest on Last Man Standing with Tim Allen. How did that opportunity come about? And talk about your interaction behind the camera with comedian Tim Allen, please.
They just happened to call me. It started out as a one-show deal, and then it kind of moved into reoccurring. I loved working with Tim. When we were my favorite days were when it was me, Tim, and Jay Leno, and when the cameras weren't rolling, it was a joke fest to see. In fact, after I got my lines down for whatever scene I was in my dressing room trying to remember jokes that they hadn't heard, and it was you're going up against two of the masters, so it was just a blast. I had so much fun on that show, and Tim was just a wonderful, nice guy, funny, and sometimes you couldn't tell if he was being funny or serious, but 9 times out of 10 he was just busting you.
Bill, I love highbrow comedy sometimes, but guys like Norm Macdonald that build a joke for like 20 minutes and get to the punchline, and guys like Dennis Miller, who sometimes are a little too highbrow and goes over everyone's head, but you can tell they're incredibly smart.
Oh yeah.
Who's the smartest comedian?
Smartest? I'd probably have to go with Jon Stewart. Somebody like, they really know their stuff, and they do a show that I can't do.
Right.
They're not afraid to get into the political cesspool, and I have always just kind of avoided that because I figure my job's just to make you laugh. And by the way, I take it a huge honor that you talk about like you enjoy highbrow comedy, yet you still have me on the show. Which, no one's ever accused Bill Engvall of being highbrow.
Oh, that's fun stuff. Well, you've got to be a smart guy to be a comedian. I've always thought that. I like, you can't just be some buffoon all the time. You've got to have some brains about you. Am I off on that? Because
no, I think that's a very accurate statement. I think a lot of comedians are very smart. and their comedy is very smart. That's one of the things that I'm trying to kind of ease more into that style, of I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not, but just to do different types of jokes, and yet still maintaining the cleanliness and the funniness of it. It's like I said, it's not an easy job because every show is different. I mean, even within the same night, you may do a show that the first show is great and the second show the crowd just wasn't in it, or vice versa. So I think one of the great attributes comedians have to have is you got to be able to change, in the middle, where the old saying goes, change horses in the middle of the stream.
So, Bill, hold that thought because we are up against another break. And when we come back, we are going to continue to dive into your comedy and get to your thoughts on Texas and Oklahoma this weekend. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with Bill Engvall. Your life can change on a dime, and if you are relocating for your job up to the Rocket City of Huntsville, the fastest growing city in the state of Alabama, you need to contact Celeste Hagler of First Class Real Estate South Home Group. She has brokers all over North Alabama to help you get settled with buying a new home in North Alabama. You can contact her at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is Celeste Hagler, 205-861-5698. 5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to live where you love in the state of Alabama, even in the Rocket City of Huntsville. Bill, are you good to continue with us?
Yeah, we got about another 5 minutes.
Okay, cool. And by the way, thank you again for doing this.
Yeah, great stuff.
Thanks for asking me.
Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening is Bill Engvall from Here's Your Sign. And Bill, I do have to ask you, with going all over the country and touring, who were some coaches, and especially college football coaches, that you got to meet that came to your shows?
Oh man. That's tough because I don't usually, for whatever reason, I have people come up and say they listen, but I've never got to meet them. There's a lot I would love to meet. Saban, Sarkisian. I don't necessarily want to be the Matthew McConaughey where I'm on this. Although I take that back. No, I would. If I could be on the sidelines at every Texas game, I'd be a happy camper.
I bet.
So, Bill, I've got 2 questions left for you. The first one, can you tell us your favorite Larry the Cable Guy story and Ron White story that you enjoy telling that gets a lot of laughs?
Oh my gosh. I wish we had another hour. Larry is one of those guys that is just genuinely funny. It's I guess one of my favorite stories from him is when he was getting married. He said, "Look, we're not sending out invitations or anything, but we're going to get married at his house, his farm, and then we'll shoot off M80s." I guess so. And Ron, I've often said this, that if I was put on the spot and I had to buy tickets to see one of the guys, it would be Ron. Ron is one of the best storytellers out there. He's genuinely funny. And in fact, it's funny when we started Blue Collar, Jeff was the man. He was shooting through the stratosphere. And I was doing everything I could to keep up with him. And one night, Ron and I were sitting at a bar, and he said, Bill, I remember when I first met you, I'd go up and just gut the room. And then you'd come up with that slow accent, drawl. He said, and 2 minutes later, it was Ron who. And he probably doesn't know this, but that was a single incident where I realized I had stopped being me. I was trying to be Jeff, which is not a bad person to try to be, but you got to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bill, my final question for you, getting back to college football, give us your take on Texas and Oklahoma this weekend in the Red River Rivalry, and then going ahead and give us a preview of Texas hosting Georgia next weekend.
Okay, here's my uneducated prediction. I think Texas will beat Oklahoma by a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be a big blowout like they think it's going to be. I hope it is, but I don't think it will be. And Texas and Georgia, I see that being a 3-point game. I think it's going to come down to who's got the ball last and field goal. Kirby Smart is just that's an appropriate last name for him. He knows how to devise a plan. Sarkisian's great at what he does, and hopefully, if I'd love for us to come out 2-0. If we come out 1-1, I will not be disappointed. But I think the Texas Georgia game scares me more than the Texas OU game, because even if you get Kirby down in the first half, he has this innate ability to bring back. But so all right, so predictions. Here we go. Texas OU will be maybe 24-17 Texas on Texas OU. Georgia, I think, is going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised to see a 21-18 prediction on that.
And Bill, you were really close to the score prediction last year when you predicted Texas over Alabama here in Tuscaloosa. So we are taking those predictions to the bank, my friend.
Please don't. Please don't.
I'm betting the ant farm on that one, Stephen.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
Bill, you are a Cowboys fan. If you would, give us your thoughts on the future this season of the Cowboys in the NFL.
Okay. I'm going to say the Cowboys are going to go 9-6. I think we've got too many injuries. I think that we've got to get people healthy again. I don't know what the deal is between CeeDee Lamb and Dak, but that's got to get resolved.
Yeah.
It's obviously an issue. I think the Commanders are the Guardians, whoever Washington. I think will win the division. I think the Cowboys' best hope is for a wild card.
Wow. Okay.
And I love them. And I hate to say that. I wish I could say we're going to go, 15-2 from here on out. But if they can get in as a wild card, I think they'll be happy with all the injuries.
Win a playoff game this year, Bill?
Huh?
Do you think the Cowboys win a playoff game this year?
Boy, I'd sure like to see that happen. It's been so long.
It has.
And listen, everybody can say, "Oh, yeah, well, at least you're not a Browns fan, or at least you're not a Jets fan," or it doesn't matter. It's your team. It's the team I root for, and while I think you have to be realistic. I don't think we're the team we were last year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Bill, I apologize. I've got one final question. Because,
really?
Yes, I do apologize about that, because we are getting another rivalry back this year because Texas came to the SEC. Now they get the rivalry back with the Aggies of A&M.
Thank God.
Your thoughts on that rivalry between Texas and A&M, please.
Well, I think it's a great rivalry. I think I'm so happy that it didn't get discontinued. It's A&M's tough. Good Lord, they're tough. That 12th man, I don't care what anybody says, that's a factor. And I have had the opportunity twice to do a midnight yell at A&M, and it was just so much fun. And to watch those kids and the core and everything, it kind of sums up to me what college football is all about.
Yeah.
And it's I'm happy that the rivalry's there. A&M's one of those teams I guarantee you don't look past them, because you saw what happened last week. I think was it last week they beat Missouri? They just stomped on Missouri.
Yes, that was incredible.
Yeah, I don't think anybody saw that coming, and Missouri's great too. I used to go, wow, why is everybody TV always covering the SEC? Now I see it. It's a whole different ball game than the rest of the conferences.
And here's the fun part about being an SEC fan now, Bill. you got that brutal 3-week schedule almost every year where you got 3 teams like, oh my gosh, we got 3 top 10 teams in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you look at the bottom feeders of the conference like Vanderbilt, and then what do? They beat someone like Alabama. And that's what the SEC is. There's no off weeks in the SEC.
No, I totally agree. And I think it was a good move. I'm going to show my age again. I still go back to the old Southwest Conference. Which was great. But I think that I was scared that Texas was joining the SEC. I think it was probably the best thing for them. I think it'll open up their recruiting. They'll be on TV more. And, between Sark and just being a Longhorn, there's nothing better than seeing that game and they come out in their white unis with that burnt orange Longhorn on the side. It's just great. That's one of my goals, is to be able to go to a Texas tailgate party one of these days.
Yes.
Although nowadays, the kids that go to I could be their granddad. So nobody wants to play beer pong with their granddad.
Well, Stephen will play beer pong with you anytime you want. I'll promise you that. Bill, next time we have you on the show, I'll ask you about the Southwestern Conference days, and you can make all your mean-spirited jokes about Lou Holtz and Jackie Sherrill. So
yeah, okay, there we go.
All right. So, Bill, in parting, with the Aggies and the Longhorns rivalry renewing, would you come back that week and help us break down that game?
Sure. I love being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, man. Well, we really enjoyed having you, and please let everybody know where they can keep up with you, and especially keep up with what tour dates that you are going to do doing your next comedy stand-up.
You just check, BillEngvall.com, or you call just keep your eye on the papers and listen to the radio, and that when I'm doing a show, we'll be doing a lot of press. So come on out and get your tickets, and let's have some laughs together.
Dude, man, I hope you do try to come to the South, because I would love. I'm going to be there if you do, my friend.
Well, I'll know you're there just because of that accent.
Yes. So, Bill, thank you, and good luck to the Longhorns of Texas, man, this weekend. Also, good luck to the Cowboys. Hopefully, they can get in the playoffs, and we will definitely reach out to you to try to have you back on the week of the Aggies and the Longhorns.
All right, I'll be here.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Bill, have a great weekend.
All right, take care.
All right, man, 3 times we have interviewed Bill Engvall, and it is always such a blast to have him on. And Heath, I'm really looking forward to him talking about the A&M and Texas rivalry, because that rivalry, like we've been talked about, has gone away, and now it's going to be renewed in Kyle Field in College Station in a few weeks.
Yeah, and if A&M keeps winning, whoa. Can you imagine a one-loss A&M team going to the game? I don't think that will be the case.
Right.
But what if there's an undefeated Texas team and a one-loss A&M team?
Yep.
That would just be pandemonium. I'm not betting a nickel. I'm not betting a wooden penny that that's going to happen. But that game could be just a classic.
So, Heath, we've got one more segment to do on this edition of the Stingray Show. When we come back, we are going to be talking about college football and catching up with my co-host Heath Hopkins, who has not been here since last week. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back to finish it up with Heath Hopkins.
Hey, what? Oh, I'm going. Sorry, Stephen. I'm going on vacation again. I got to go. See you, man.
All right. Bye-bye.
Ha!
We'll be right back, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, We'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. It's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. Welcome back inside the final segment of the Stingray Show. You just missed Bill Engvall, the interview that we did with him for 30 minutes about his comedy career and the Red River Rivalry that is now an SEC rivalry, as both teams are now here in the SEC. And my co-host Heath Hopkins has returned to the Stingray Show off of vacation. Heath, I know that you don't know, but every single night of this week, someone has mentioned what happened in Nashville between Vanderbilt and Alabama. Tonight will be the last night that we talk about it, but I want to get your thoughts on what happened between Vanderbilt and Alabama last Saturday in Nashville. How stunned were you that the Vanderbilt Commodores anchored down actually knocked off number one?
I wasn't stunned at all. I knew it was going to happen. No, I'm lying. I am lying through my teeth. No, Stephen, the weak-minded Alabama fans were like, we got to fire DeBuer. We got to fire. You're weak-minded. You're an idiot. Just shut up. You're not firing anybody. All right. The really ignorant fans, we got to bring Saban back. That ain't ever happening, brother. That ain't ever happening.
Dude, he's in Eugene, Oregon this weekend for college game day of Ohio State and Oregon. He's not coming back.
He's never coming back to coach Alabama. He's never coming back. He loves television. He's made that apparent and clear. He hates NIL. He hates the transfer portal. He's made that clear. If anything ran Nick Saban out, it's players asking about NIL money. Because he said over 80% of the players did it after the last game of the season, when it just infuriated him. And he's just kind of done with this NIL transfer portal. So Saban's not coming back. He's not. So get that out of your mind. But let's talk about Vanderbilt, Stephen, and we'll make it quick. We've been knocking Vanderbilt for several years now. We've had Coach Derek Mason, the former Vanderbilt coach, on the show a couple of times. And Coach Mason, I put him on the spot. I was like, Vanderbilt's they've always had plenty of money to cheat, not only cheat, to get away with it. And now it's legal to cheat and pay these players, and Vanderbilt's not doing it. What's going on? And he said they think NIL should be an experience. They should split the money evenly between men and women's athletics. And that's not the case anymore. And Vanderbilt finally caught up this year. And what did they do? They brought in the OC from New Mexico. They sat there and said, hey, bring that quarterback with you. We can do some damage. And brother, it has been a party in Nashville since. Ask Virginia Tech fans. Ask Bama fans. Hey, you might have gone to the party, but you weren't happy when you went.
Heath, let me finish off by saying this, and we're not going to talk about it anymore. But everybody laughed at Clark Lee 2 years ago when he walked in to the SEC Media Days and said, we are trying to build the best program in the SEC. Who's laughing now?
Yeah, I'm
That's
with
all
you
I
on
got
that.
to say.
And I giggled when he said that, but at the same time, being a small business owner, you've got to have that mindset. Like, we've got to become the best somehow, some way.
Yeah.
And it has to start somewhere, and it has to start with that mindset.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to be the best one day. We're not there, but we're building to be the best. Like, well, dude, you'll never be the best. I don't know. They got the money to do it. They really do. I don't know if they will, but they got the money to do it. And I'll say this, Stephen. when Johnny Manziel is reaching out to Diego because he heard that Diego looks up to him. That's the reason why he wears number 2, because it was Johnny Manziel was Diego's favorite player. And Manziel shows up on SEC Network, and they surprise him with the interview. It was actually on ESPN. Tom Luganbill set that up, our good friend. And, Johnny Football's there with Diego, and he's inviting him to come to Nashville for the party. Johnny Manziel's not missing a party. Johnny Manziel's like, I will make it out there to watch you guys play this season.
Yeah.
That's where we're at, people. Johnny Manziel, who's never missed a great party, is wanting to come to Nashville to party. Now, that could be a curse. You hope that party's after the game, not before it, because I will bet the Ant Farm again that they would lose a game if they had that party before the game. But, dude, this is where we are at now. Yeah. Vanderbilt's at the bottom feeder of the SEC now. They're not. They're not in last place.
Heath, the final thing I do want to say, and I know that the Stingray Show has harped on this all week, but dude, you gotta love it. You do have to love it. Unfortunately, you don't have to love it if you're a Tennessee fan. But everybody else is so happy that Arkansas is keeping the good old boy, Sam Pittman. Heath, your thoughts last weekend about Arkansas losing Talon Green late in that football game, and they were still able to knock off number 4 Tennessee at home. That is a monumental step forward in the right direction for this year's Arkansas team, and especially to let you guys know that Bobby Petrino and that offense is starting to click.
I've been tough on Bobby Petrino and, in that offense in the red zone all season long. And when Talon Green went down, I don't know if it's one of 3 things, Stephen. Either it's Talon Green was holding them back in the red zone, or the defense wasn't prepared to face the backup quarterback, or they had a special package for the backup quarterback in these situations. And they usually give a quarterback, in those situations, 6 to 8 plays and kind of get him going in the red zone there. So I don't know if it was any of those 3 things, but I do know it's a win in the win column. I mean, they put one in there. Stephen, look what happened. Missouri lost, top 10 team. Tennessee lost, top 10 team. Bama lost, a top 10 team. Bama fans, you've sat on the mountain. You've been on the mountaintop for what, 17, 18 years now? You had the best coach that ever was. And I hate to say it, Kalen DeBoer is a wonderful coach. He's a great coach, but he's not the greatest of all time. He's not. And, Nick Saban is. You've got to take a step back. And that's not a knock on DeBoer. It's not. But you know what? Welcome back to reality, because this is what every SEC team goes through. There's some heartbreaking losses that pop up here and there. And guess what? It's going to happen again. And you can fire him. It'll be just like the bear, and you'll just be kind of wandering through coaches and time after that. And it's going to be 15, 20 years before you find somebody to kind of reel it in. Don't be that team. Don't be that fan. You got to support the Tide. You got to.
So, Heath, when we turn the page to week number 7 this Saturday, we've got number 2 Ohio State versus number 3 Oregon in Eugene. It is Ryan Day going up against Dan Lanning. That is where College Game Day is going to be. We will be catching up with Adam Rittenberg on the Friday evening edition of the Stingray Show to dive into the major other matchups outside of the SEC. We will also talk with him about the big game in the Coliseum out on the West Coast between Penn State and USC. There was also a couple of good games in the Big 12 as well, including number 18 Kansas State at Colorado. This weekend is stacked. And Heath, let's not forget about the Magnolia Bowl rivalry and, of course, Florida versus Tennessee. That is all this weekend. Make sure your TV is tuned on to all of those games. And for anybody that have to go to any weddings this weekend, I feel so sorry for you.
Yeah, the trajectory of this weekend.
Yes.
It's going to change for a lot of teams. I mean, Stephen, just think about this. We'll just use one. We won't go through all those. But what if Florida wins that game against Tennessee?
Gosh.
I think Tennessee starts to fold a little bit.
Yep.
And I think Florida builds momentum for the rest of the year. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think Tennessee's going to win that game by a large margin. But what if? What if?
And Heath, let me also say this in parting. Tomorrow night, there is a late night Big 12 after dark game that could very easily shape the Big 12 standings. Utah at Arizona State, and both of those teams are 4-1.
You know, Arizona State, I've been impressed with their team speed.
Yeah.
On both sides of the ball. You know, I don't think anyone saw this Arizona State team doing much this year. They thought they'd be a little bit better. Dude, they could really get on the fast track and get way ahead of the schedule where they're supposed to be with a win. So you're right, Steven. There's going to be so many great games this weekend, and I'm looking forward to watching a couple. I never get to stay home and watch games. I get to this weekend, and I'm looking forward to it.
So, Heath, that is going to wrap up the Stingray Show for Thursday evening. When we come back on the Friday edition, like I just said, Adam Rittenberg, senior writer for ESPN, will join us to talk about the games from the other conferences out there that will shape the playoffs, no doubt. That is tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. And guys, we will see you on the Fun Friday edition of the Stingray Show with Adam Rittenberg.
What game are you going to look forward to watch the most this weekend, Steven? I'm going Florida and Tennessee. I can't wait to see that one this weekend. I might turn it off midway through the second quarter because it'll be decided by then, but I'm looking forward to that game.
Heath, I'm going to go with the Magnolia Bowl. Ole Miss at night in Tiger Stadium versus Go Tigers. The Magnolia Bowl is the one that I'm going with.
You know what? I'll leave you on this, Stephen. That trophy they play for looks like a vacation Bible school project. That's the worst trophy I've ever seen. And they only made that trophy like 8 years ago. That's not like a trophy that's 80 years old. I mean, it's a piece of wood crap trophy.
Catch you tomorrow night, Tuscaloosa.